Hi there, today we're going to look at how to build a currency converter app in less than 5 minutes. We're going to configure an external API, build the app using an input field, drop-down box, button, text, API connector and a multimodal, and we'll code all the logic in 6 lines. Let's get started. First of all, let's configure the API. Here I'm adding a new API under the API designer. I'm naming it exchange rates and I'm copying in the endpoint of a publicly available source. Let's add an operation here, which is /latest, and that's a get operation. Let's define a body for the response to be returned in, and we can configure that under the response tab here, adding the body as an object. Finally, let's enable the use of this API in the app designer. We can save and display. Moving straight into the app designer now, we can create a new app. Let's call it Currency Converter. We'll use a template, the full screen template. So straight away we can activate and preview that, and this is what we have, just a full screen blank app. So let's get some elements in here. We'll add a flex box in, which allows us to put all our elements into a nice layout. We'll put a button inside the flex box and an input field as well. If we activate this, you can see straight away the input field and the button. Let's add a few more elements now. Let's put a text element underneath the button and a select drop-down box, which we'll put just before the button. And you can see that here with the drop-down box. You can't see the text as nothing's been configured as a value yet. So in that select box, we're going to put a few list items. And if I activate this, you can see there's 2 empty items in the drop-down box now. Finally, let's add the API connector under resources, as well as the multi-model. Let's configure these now. So under the REST API, we're going to select the exchange rates API that we configured at the beginning, along with the latest get call. We'll configure the response to go to the multi-model, and we'll set the init load to online. This calls the data as soon as the application is loaded. Let's configure these list items as well. So here we'll use the key of GDP when you select Great British Pounds, and here we'll use the key of CAD when you select Canadian dollars. If we activate that, we can see in our drop-down box we've got our 2 values. Let's add some text to the button as well, and we'll just call the button convert to euros. If we activate that, we can see the text, and now we're good to go in terms of setting up the logic. So we click the button and we open the code for the press event. This is the code that's triggered when the button is pressed. So we're going to set up a few variables here. We're going to set up a variable called input value, which will get the value of the input field, whatever's typed in. Another variable, input currency, which will get the key of whichever value is selected in the drop-down list. Next, we'll set up a variable to store the data which is in the multi-model. And this is what was retrieved from the API call. So here we have exchange rate model, which gets the data from the multi-model. Next, we'll get the selected exchange rate by referencing that variable and using the input currency to get the correct rate. Finally, set up a variable called result, which will actually do the calculation of the input value divided by the selected exchange rate, and then we can set the text element to that result. Great, done. Let's activate and give it a go. So straight away the API would have put the data in the multi-model. We could input 5 British pounds and convert it to euros there, 5.6 euros. Change that to Canadian dollars and that converts it to 3.2 Canadian dollars.